I'm going to replace this entire mastering chain with just one plugin, Musik Hack Master Plan. Master Plan's been coming up a lot lately, at least on my social media feeds. I've been seeing a lot of people using it, talking about it, and I've even seen some big industry artists utilizing it in their masters as well. I'm talking about SZA, Justin Bieber, Busta Rhymes, and more. Now, what's appealing about Master Plan is its simple yet intuitive interface. It has just a handful of knobs and buttons that you can press to essentially dial in a clean and loud mastered sound. It really gives you everything that you need to master a song, including an in-depth monitoring section for different reference points, meters that you can use to determine your LUFS peak and crest factor, input, output, unity gain so you can hear how your master sounds without any volume bias, and more. Really, it sounds great on the surface, but how is it really? And more importantly, how does it sound? That's what I want to get to the bottom of in this video. So to do that, we're going to deconstruct a previous master that I did and then replace that master with Master Plan. First, let's bypass the mastering chain altogether and play the track and just see how much headroom I had on my original mix.
I'm in the back with the pros, ayy. Shorty got class in the shows, ayy. I know the game how it goes, ayy. I know the game like I'm Woj, ayy. I'm in the back with the pros, yeah. Shorty got class in the shows, yeah. I know the game how it goes, yeah. I know the game like I'm Woj, yeah. I'm in the back with the pros, ayy. Shorty got class in the shows, ayy. I know the game how it goes, ayy. I know the game like I'm Woj, yeah. I'm in the back with the pros, yeah. Shorty got class in the shows, yeah. I know the game how it goes, yeah. I know the game like I'm Woj.
This track is mixed extremely loud. I am the mixing engineer on this one too, and I mixed it really loud. I pushed it, and you can see here that we actually have 0.1 dB of headroom at the loudest moment. You can definitely see that on average, we really do have more of like a -1, -2 dB of headroom, but there is a few loud moments that ultimately take us just shy of digital zero. And I know that might not necessarily be a good thing. You hear a lot of engineers talking about headroom, myself included, needing 3 or 6 dB of headroom before applying your mastering. However, in my situation here, I did something really unconventional, and that is I have a very loud mix that I'm then running through my mastering chain and driving even louder. And the result, as I'm about to show you in a moment, is a very clippy, buzzy, distorted type of master, but I felt like that was something that we wanted to do and needed to do on this track just because of the type of track it is. And I guess I owe a bit of a shout out to my mentor, Noah 40 Shebib, for that. A lot of you guys don't know, but I interned for 40 at the beginning of my career about 10 years ago. And one key thing that I learned, and something that he's talked about in his Pensado's Place interviews, is just about breaking the rules and doing what feels right. He specifically talks about doing that with Headlines by Drake and how a lot of things just weren't necessarily correct on a technical level. Things were clipping, going into the red, and how at the end of the day, that was the mix that came out. That was the mix that sounded best and felt best to him, and that was what they rolled with. And that song went on to do a lot of incredible things. No different from what this song has already done for myself and for Oshan's career, despite breaking a lot of technical rules. It's been featured on television shows like Mayor of Kingstown featuring Jeremy Renner and NCIS Los Angeles featuring LL Cool J. In fact, in NCIS, they actually wrote the song into the show as one of the main characters started singing it during the cold opening of the episode. So what we could do is we're going to put in our mastering chain. As I play this, I'm actually going to have one instance of Master Plan open because we can use the LUFS readings and the rest of the metering section here to get a general ballpark of what my current master is hitting. And in addition to that, I'll have open the Brainworks BX meter, and we could use this to analyze the RMS. Let's check this out.
I'm in the back with the pros, ayy. Shorty got class in the shows, ayy. I know the game how it goes, ayy. I know the game like I'm Woj, ayy. I'm in the back with the pros, yeah. Shorty got class in the shows, yeah. I know the game how it goes, yeah. I know the game like I'm Woj, yeah. I'm in the back.
Basically reading about -4 on the RMS level, extremely loud on average. Master Plan's readings definitely telling me that we're roughly between -9, -10 LUFS. Definitely a little bit on the quieter side for me. I'm usually targeting about -7, -8 LUFS. When the 808 is rolling, however, and it's happening a few times back to back, you can see that we are hitting about -8, -7 LUFS on the short term, especially. So that being said, let's talk about the actual mastering chain I have, and I'm going to go over this quickly, so definitely make sure you watch my rap mastering chain video to see a more thorough breakdown. But essentially, I have a MS EQ, just doing a little bit of sculpting, a little bit of filtering, and just pushing things into a certain direction. I have that followed up with a compressor, just doing a little bit of squeezing and ultimately compressing the peaks and making things a little bit more uniform, especially since this is a pretty dynamic track with just that boomy 808 that comes and goes. Following that, I have a pull tech, which is essentially adding a little bit of low end, a little bit of high end, but just very gentle maneuvers. Everything else pretty much is not happening happening or not doing anything. Following that, I have a FabFilter Pro Q3 with another filter. This is actually creating a very specific boomy type of sound from the 808, this cutoff, followed by some more surgical moves and some dynamic EQ moves on some specific bands that are popping out. Now, following this, I have a clipper just gently clipping at 0.2 dB before we go into our limiting stage, followed by the L3 Multimaximizer, so multi-band limiter essentially, and I'm just driving this up 2 dB with a 0.2 out ceiling. And this is serial limiting really, because then it's going into another limiter, which is driving it up another 2 dB, which is the Pro-L2 here, and keeping us at about a 0.3 output ceiling. This is where things get a little bit more interesting. I don't always do this, but I did it here for whatever reason. I'm literally like a 0.1 of saturation with the soft tube saturation knob set to neutral. Then I have a little bit of high-end processing, just bringing down some of the high-end, the excessive high-end harshness or sibilance that's coming out in the mix with this multi-band compressor. And then I'm following that up with a 3-step process. And when you watch my other video, you're going to see I did this with the Izotope Ozone 9. I'm on a new MacBook. 9 does not work on this MacBook, so I just recreated it with Izotope 11, the recent version. And it's basically a dynamic EQ, notching some bands, an imager that's just sort of pushing and pulling things, making some things like the bass more mono, but then making some of the upper stuff more stereo. And then I have a final maximizer, just gelling everything together, keeping it consistent, and ultimately driving up a volume a final time. So let's talk about how I would approach this today in 2024 using Master Plan exclusively. The first thing I would do is play with the input and the output. I'm actually going to create headroom here, so I'm going to bring this down to -6 dB. By doing this, now I have 6 dB of headroom to play with. More headroom allows me to turn it up even more aggressively and achieve more loudness if that's something that you want to do, and that's what I want to do in this case. Next, we'll set the output, and for that, I'm going to set this to about -1. I always make sure that I have at least -1 dB of headroom, so that way the encoding process that takes place for a final mix going onto a streaming service like Spotify, it'll help avoid any problems with the normalization. And to even go further on that front, I'm going to enable True Peak as well. Musik Hack themselves suggest that you first play with the 4 main knobs here, which is a low and high, so this is a tone control. You got the loud setting, which is essentially a combo of a limiter and a clipper, and then you have a wide setting, which is essentially like a stereo imager, but a phase coherent one. So the first thing that I would actually do is just play with the loud, right? I'm going to actually drive this up, pay attention to my meters here, and essentially try to get us as close as I can to the previous ballpark we're in of about -9, -10 LUFS. So let's do that right now.
I'm in the back with the pros, ayy. Shorty got class in the shows, ayy. I know the game how it goes, ayy. I know the game like I'm Woj, ayy. I'm in the back with the pros, yeah. Shorty got class in the shows, yeah. I know the game how it goes, yeah. I know the game like I'm Woj, yeah. I'm in the back with the pros, ayy. Shorty got class in the shows, ayy. I know the game how it goes, ayy. I know the game like I'm Woj, yeah. I'm in the back with the pros, yeah. Shorty got class in the shows, yeah. I know the game how it goes, yeah. I know the game like I'm Woj, I'm making plays.
Now, one thing that's important to note is if you pay attention to the meters here, you'll see that I'm pretty much in the white consistently, but then at times I go into the green, which is actually a good thing. We actually want to try to target this so that it goes into the green. The color is really just letting you know if you're at an appropriate level or a competitive level. The fact that I'm in the white right now at -10, -11, we're in the same ballpark as before, but ultimately it's telling me that this is going to be a little bit quieter compared to some other tracks. Now, we definitely want to avoid going into the yellow or the red, which you'll see if I push this too far, that'll happen.
I'm in the back with the pros, ayy. Shorty got class in the shows, ayy. I know the game how it goes, ayy.
I apologize for that, but you could tell that we were going into the red. Now we're starting to create more of a distorted, not necessarily good sound, right? We want to avoid that. So obviously where we were, which is about 13.15, that seemed to be a pretty good level, at least to start for the loudness. So we can now move into our tone controls, which is a low and high knob here. This is essentially going to accentuate the low end or the high end of our track in a musical way. So let's start with the lows first.
I'm in the back with the pros, ayy. Shorty got class in the shows, ayy. I know the game how it goes, ayy. I know the game like I'm Woj, ayy. I'm in the back with the pros, yeah. Shorty got class in the shows, yeah. I know the game how it goes, yeah. I know the game like I'm Woj, yeah. I'm in the back with the pros, ayy. Shorty got class in the shows, ayy. I know the game how it goes, ayy. I know the game like I'm Woj, yeah. I'm in the back.
So that seems to be pretty good, just slightly under a dB. Again, a little enhancement, something comparable to what I did even on my previous mastering chain, just warming things up a little bit. But now we can look at the high end. I'm going to be a little bit more careful here because there is a lot of harsh kind of high end elements, hi-hats, open hi-hats, even some percussion stuff that's happening, and even Oshan's voice at times could potentially get a little bit too sibilant and harsh depending on what happens in this process. But let's see if we can just add a little bit of top end shine.
I'm in the back with the pros, ayy. Shorty got class in the shows, ayy. I know the game how it goes, ayy. I know the game like I'm Woj, ayy. I'm in the back with the pros, yeah. Shorty got class in the shows, yeah. I know the game how it goes, yeah. I know the game like I'm Woj, yeah. I'm in the back with the pros, ayy. Shorty got class in the shows, ayy. I know the game how it goes, ayy. I know the game like I'm Woj, yeah. I'm in the back with the pros, yeah. Shorty got class in the shows, yeah. I know the game how it goes, yeah. I know the game like I'm Woj.
Definitely getting a little bit sizzly, but we're gonna probably tame that a little bit more with some of these other settings. But before we get to the lower part here, let's just address the wide. So this is a stereo imager. It's gonna expand how wide our track feels essentially. So let's just play with that and see what we can do.
I'm in the back with the pros, ayy. Shorty got class in the shows, ayy. I know the game how it goes, ayy. I know the game like I'm Woj, ayy. I'm in the back with the pros, yeah. Shorty got class in the shows, yeah. I know the game how it goes, yeah. I know the game like I'm Woj, yeah. I'm in the back with the pros, ayy. Shorty got class in the shows, ayy. I know the game how it goes, ayy. I know the game like I'm Woj, yeah. I'm in the back with the pros, yeah. Shorty got class in the shows, yeah. I know the game how it goes, yeah. I know the game like I'm Woj. I'm making plays and trades today. These on layaway, you better fade away. If I handle the business, then babe, go stay okay, okay.
I think that sounds pretty good. I feel like if we go too far, it sounds a little bit too stereo. It doesn't necessarily sound terrible, but it just doesn't really feel appropriate for this track. Now, before we get to these bottom sections here, I think one thing to talk about is up here. You notice you have a unity button here. What it's going to do is essentially gain match the signal that we had before we started this process. And that'll allow us to not be biased by volume and determine if what we're actually doing sounds good. So with unity on, I'm going to bypass and put the master plan in, and we can just obviously see with our move so far, how is it sounding?
I'm in the back with the pros, ayy. Shorty got class in the shows, ayy. I know the game how it goes, ayy. I know the game like I'm Woj, ayy. I'm in the back with the pros, yeah. Shorty got class in the shows, yeah. I know the game how it goes, yeah. I know the game like I'm Woj, yeah. I'm in the back with the pros, ayy. Shorty got class in the shows, ayy. I know the game how it goes, ayy. I know the game like I'm Woj, yeah. I'm in the back with the pros, yeah. Shorty got class in the shows, yeah. I know the game how it goes, yeah. I know the game like I'm Woj.
What I notice is when I bypass this, when I don't have master plan in, the bass actually feels more pronounced and more impactful, I would say. Whereas when I put master plan in, obviously we're getting a volume reduction because of how loud I've made it so far. But in addition to that, the low end is just coming down. It's not really hitting the same way. So this tells me a few things. Maybe I have to adjust my low setting a little bit, or maybe I need to go in and use some of these other settings, particularly this thick setting. Before I go to thick, let's actually just see if I can revisit the low setting and see if it just can sound better by enhancing it even more.
I'm in the back with the pros, ayy. Shorty got class in the shows, ayy. I know the game how it goes, ayy. I know the game like I'm Woj, ayy. I'm in the back with the pros, yeah. Shorty got class in the shows, yeah. I know the game how it goes, yeah. I know the game like I'm Woj, yeah. I'm in the back with the pros, ayy. Shorty got class in the shows, ayy. I know the game how it goes, ayy. I know the game like I'm Woj, yeah. I'm in the back with the pros, yeah. Shorty got class in the shows, yeah. I know the game how it goes, yeah. I know the game like I'm Woj. I make him play.
So that 2 dB boost actually feels a bit more appropriate. I've actually enhanced it. Now let's take it out of Unity and hear what it sounds like in context and see if this feels a little bit too crazy.
I'm in the back with the pros, ayy. Shorty got class in the shows, ayy. I know the game how it goes, ayy. I know the game like I'm Woj, ayy. I'm in the back with the pros, yeah. Shorty got class in the shows, yeah. I know the game how it goes, yeah. I know the game like I'm Woj, yeah.
So far, actually, I think it sounds pretty good. Definitely big and beefy and may not work for every genre, but for a rap track like this, getting that really pronounced low end, I think is actually okay. So now if we want to enhance it even more, we could start with this thick setting, okay? So this is basically going to enable a saturation circuit, and that's going to basically just make things sound a bit warmer, a bit fuller.
I'm in the back with the pros, ayy. Shorty got class in the shows, ayy. I know the game how it goes, ayy. I know the game like I'm Woj, ayy. I'm in the back with the pros, yeah. Shorty got class in the shows, yeah. I know the game how it goes, yeah. I I know the game like I'm Woj, yeah. I'm in the back with the pros, ayy. Shorty got class in the shows, ayy. I know the game how it goes, ayy. I know the game like I'm Woj, yeah. I'm in the back with the pros, yeah. Shorty got class in the shows, yeah. I know the game how it goes, yeah. I know the game like I'm Woj.
So I think here with about 25%, pretty subtle setting. And it's worth noting that while I am going to be playing around with all of these lower features here, you don't necessarily need to use them all. You may actually only want to use one or two. Really, this main section is where you're going to do a lot of the heavy lifting. And then this is just going to allow you to sculpt things out a little bit further. Obviously, we're getting a very pronounced low end and we're getting a lot more warmth as a result of using thick. Let's now use the clean setting and see if the clean setting can help clean up some of the muddiness that's happening in the low and the low mids.
I'm in the back with the pros, ayy. Shorty got class in the shows, ayy. I know the game how it goes, ayy. I know the game like I'm Woj, ayy. I'm in the back with the pros, yeah. Shorty got class in the shows, yeah. I know the game how it goes, yeah. I know the game like I'm Woj, yeah. I'm in the back with the pros, ayy. Shorty got class in the shows, ayy. I know the game how it goes, ayy. I know the game like I'm Woj, yeah. I'm in the back with the pros, yeah. Shorty got class in the shows, yeah. I know the game how it goes, yeah. I know the game like I'm Woj. I'm making plays and trades today. These don't lay away your...
What I like about this is everything sounds very musical. Nothing necessarily sounds too heavy-handed, even when I push it to the maximum. If you use an EQ and you start notching out frequencies, you're probably going to end up overdoing it a little bit. Things are going to start sounding a lot less articulate or maybe more artifacted, affected in a way. These are things that obviously you don't necessarily want. However, with Master Plan here, this clean setting in particular so far, you can hear how smooth it sounds and how musical it sounds, right? Cleaning up some of that low-end mud, that low-mid mud really, but not necessarily overdoing it to the point where it sounds like you've taken away too much, even when you do push it to an excessive setting. Let's now look at our dynamic section here, and you really have two options, although you could use them in series with one another, and that is a multi-band, which gives you access to a low, mid, and high frequency compressor, right? I can compress each of these bands separately, or just a smooth setting, which is a gentle compressor, essentially, with some preset settings. So you're not really adjusting anything with the smooth setting, but with the multi-band, you are able to dial in a more specific amount of compression for each frequency band. Now, knowing that there's a lot of low end here, it might make sense to use the multi. However, I'm going to shoot both of them out and we'll see. First things first, let me just play this and try to dial in a sound and maybe get a little bit of compression on each of the bands, but maybe varying amounts. There's a lot of low end, like I said, so we may want to tame that a little bit more than the other frequency bands. Here we go.
I'm in the back with the pros, ayy. Shorty got class in the shows, ayy. I know the game how it goes, ayy. I know the game like I'm Woj, ayy. I'm in the back with the pros, yeah. Shorty got class in the shows, yeah. I know the game how it goes, yeah. I know the game like I'm Woj, yeah. I'm in the back with the pros, ayy. Shorty got class in the shows, ayy. I know the game how it goes, ayy. I know the game like I'm Woj, yeah. I'm in the back with the pros, yeah. Shorty got class in the shows, yeah. I know the game how it goes, yeah. I know the game like I'm Woj. I'm in the back with the pros, ayy. Shorty got class in the shows, ayy. I know the game how it goes, ayy. I know the game like I'm Woj, ayy. I'm in the back with the pros, yeah. Shorty got class in the shows, yeah. I know the game how it goes, yeah. I know the game like I'm Woj, yeah. I'm in the back with the pros, ayy. Shorty got class in the shows, ayy. I know the game how it goes, ayy. I know the game like I'm Woj, yeah. I'm in the back with the pros, yeah. Shorty got class in the shows, yeah. I know the game how it goes, yeah. I know the game like I'm Woj.
So that seems pretty good. You can see I'm actually compressing the lows quite a bit, 2.4 dB. Mids a little bit, obviously more vocal focus, so about 1 dB. And a little bit more than 2 dB in the high end, which is where some of that harsher high end stuff is coming out, which we're going to talk about a little bit more in a moment, but like hi-hats, open hats, things of that nature. So this sounds pretty good, but let's actually bypass this and put in smooth instead. I'm going to basically play this and compare the two. Smooth is just on or off. It's a predetermined algorithm, you could tell. And let's just see if it sounds smoother and better than the multi-band. Here we go.
I'm in the back with the pros, ayy. Shorty got class in the shows, ayy. I know the game how it goes, ayy. I know the game like I'm Woj, ayy. I'm in the back with the pros, yeah. Shorty got class in the shows, yeah. I know the game how it goes, yeah. I know the game like I'm Woj, yeah. I'm in the back with the pros, ayy. Shorty got class in the shows, ayy. I know the game how it goes, ayy. I know the game like I'm Woj, yeah. I'm in the back with the pros, yeah. Shorty got class in the shows, yeah. I know the game how it goes, yeah. I know the game game like I'm woke.
So it really could go either way, depends on your preference. I mean, definitely getting some more low-end feeling and presence from the multi, I would say. However, smooth is really doing what it sets out to do, which is just make things sound smoother. Again, either option could work. I guess I'll go with the multi in this case, but I'm not necessarily opposed to just using smooth for simplicity. That being said, let's now move on to the calm setting, and this is 2 buttons. Calm itself is essentially going to reduce harshness and some of that high-end stuff that might poke out and bite and just kill the ears a little bit. There is definitely some higher-end pieces, open hats, closed hats, even some percussion sounds, and even some of Ocean's vocal that could definitely be a little bit harsh at times. So we're going to dial this in, and if we want, we can also hit 2x here, which is going to double the amount of frequencies affected by calm. So basically, it's going to affect more frequencies, essentially. Let's not use that first, though. Let's just use the calm on its own and see where we end up.
I'm in the back with the pros, ayy. Shorty got class in the shows, ayy. I know the game how it goes, ayy. I know the game like I'm Woj, ayy. I'm in the back with the pros, yeah. Shorty got class in the shows, yeah. I know the game how it goes, yeah. I know the game like I'm Woj, yeah. I'm in the back with the pros, ayy. Shorty got class in the shows, ayy. I know the game how it goes, ayy. I know the game like I'm Woj, yeah. I'm in the back with the pros, yeah. Shorty got class in the shows, yeah. I know the game how it goes, yeah. I know the game like I'm Woj.
So that actually feels pretty musical. Again, very subtle in a way. It's definitely making it less harsh, but again, if I push it too far, I do feel like I'm getting just a little bit of darkness as a result of doing that. So I obviously don't want to go too crazy here. Let's see what happens though when I put the 2x in, and I'll put it in and out a few times and just see the difference.
I'm in the back with the pros, ayy. Shorty got class in the shows, ayy. I know the game how it goes, ayy. I know the game like I'm Woj, ayy. I'm in the back with the pros, yeah. Shorty got class in the shows, yeah. I know the game how it goes, yeah. I know the game like I'm Woj, yeah.
So I definitely think the 2x is helping in this case. It's making it sound a bit smoother, a bit less harsh. And I definitely notice when I'm paying attention to things like that open hi-hat once again. That seems to be poking out a little bit more when I don't have this enabled. Now the last setting is tape here. Basically this slider here is a character slider. And you can see in the bottom it says you have tight bass on the left or you have a warm glow on the right. Either way though, let's just try it. I'll play it. I'll obviously do the 2 extremes and I'll show you guys some in-betweens just to see if maybe a blend of the 2 does make sense for this track. Here we go.
I'm in the back with the pros, ayy. Shorty got class in the shows, ayy. I know the game how it goes, ayy. I know the game like I'm Woj, ayy. I'm in the back with the pros, yeah. Shorty got class in the shows, yeah. I know the game how it goes, yeah. I know the game like I'm Woj, yeah. I'm in the back with the pros, ayy. Shorty got class in the shows, ayy. I know the game how it goes, ayy. I know the game like I'm Woj, yeah. I'm in the back with the pros, yeah. Shorty got class in the shows, yeah. I know the game how it goes, yeah. I know the game like I'm Woj. I'm in the back with the pros, ayy. Shorty got class in the shows, ayy. I know the game how it goes, ayy. I know the game like I'm Woj, ayy. I'm in the back with the pros, yeah. Shorty got class in the shows, yeah. I know the game how it goes, yeah. I know the game like I'm Woj, yeah.
I mean, you get a couple of ideas. When I have it set to the warm setting, I'm losing a lot of the transient impact, I would say. It's just not really knocking or hitting like it originally was. And even on the left side, the same thing. I don't think it's appropriate for this track, so I'm going to keep it off altogether. Now, before we shoot this out with the original mastering chain, let's talk about the monitoring section here real quick. You have all these different reference points in one simple slider. You obviously have a few different options, but let's just go through them and really listen to our mix and see how it affects our mix. But ultimately, these are just different ways people might perceive your mix, and it gives you ways to just check your mix in these different scenarios. So I could dim the track, so hear it at a lower volume and therefore with less energy. And that's a good way to mix a song. When you mix something at a lower volume with less energy, volume is not really going to impact your decision making as well. And you'll be able to just hear like what exactly is cutting through your mix at this lower level. Referencing in mono is good because you're basically collapsing the stereo image into a single source as opposed to a left and a right channel. Even though I'm sitting between 2 speakers and maybe you are too, depending on how you're listening to this, not everybody's going to be in a stereo listening situation. For example, sometimes you're listening to music with one headphone in and one out. Sometimes you're driving in your car and you're sitting on the left side. Sometimes you're at a club or a bar or an event and you're sitting near one speaker and not necessarily the other one. So therefore, in these situations, you're not getting that perfect stereo image. And it's a good idea to just check your mix in mono to see how it's going to translate into these less than ideal scenarios. It'll also help you uncover issues related to phase, which is something I've talked about in some of my past videos, which I'll link to up above as well. Now we have 3 interesting reference points here being band, phone, and end N10, but you're essentially going to hear your track with a different frequency curve. So with a band, for example, you're going to be missing certain frequency information. With a phone, even more so, right? Because a phone is a very small device, small drivers, not going to get as much bass, not necessarily going to get all the top end. And then finally, we got N10, which I imagine is going to be similar to an NS10 speaker from Yamaha. This is a very famous Yamaha speaker that a lot of mixers swear by, because the reality is it sounds terrible. It sounds flat. It's really hard to make things hit on these speakers because of how they sound. However, because of that, a lot of guys prefer them, because if you can make something sound good on an NS10, it'll essentially sound good anywhere. At least that's what they say. So let's actually check that out. Here we go.
I'm in the back with the pros, ayy. Shorty got class in the shows, ayy. I know the game how it goes, ayy. I know the game like I'm Woj. I'm in the back with the pros, ayy. Shorty got class in the shows, ayy. I know the game how it goes, ayy. I know the game like I'm Woj. I'm in the back with the pros, ayy. Shorty got class in the shows, ayy. I know the game how it goes, ayy. I know the game like I'm Woj, ayy. I'm in the back with the pros, yeah. Shorty got class in the shows, yeah. I know the game how it goes, yeah. I know the game like I'm Woj. I'm in the back with the pros, ayy. Shorty got class in the shows, ayy. I know the game how it goes, ayy. I know the game like I'm Woj.
Everything seemed to be translating effectively, and obviously you're just supposed to use these as a way to know if things are going to translate across different devices and different environments. If something really stands out, you can go back in and evaluate some of your settings. So for example, with the phone setting, there was a lot more high end for me. Maybe it's worth dialing back the high setting and then maybe even dialing up the calm setting. Not necessarily something I'm going to do in this case, but it is something to consider, right? It just might expose issues that you're not aware of in your current listening situation. However, having it here is extremely handy, and I really appreciate that, because the reality is I do apply EQ curves on my master just to emulate a phone. I'll cut the lows, cut the highs, and basically try to get an estimation of what it's going to sound like. I don't need to do that anymore. I could just quickly slide into this, and Master Plan is doing it for me. So let's do some final comparisons, starting with putting this into Unity, bypassing and putting it in, hearing it with no volume bias, and then I'll take Unity out, and then after that we'll compare it to my original master chain and do some concluding thoughts.
I'm in the back with the pros, ayy. Shorty got class in the shows, ayy. I know the game how it goes, ayy. I know the game like I'm Woj, ayy. I'm in the back with the pros, yeah. Shorty got class in the shows, yeah. I know the game how it goes, yeah. I know the game like I'm Woj, yeah. I'm in the back with the pros, ayy. Shorty got class in the shows, ayy. I know the game how it goes, ayy. I know the game like I'm Woj, yeah. I'm in the back with the pros, ayy. Shorty got class in the shows, ayy. I know the game how it goes, ayy. I know the game like I'm Woj, ayy. I'm in the back with the pros, yeah. Shorty got class in the shows, yeah. I know the game how it goes, yeah. I know the game like I'm Woj, yeah. I'm in the back with the pros, ayy. Shorty got class in the shows, ayy. I know the game how it goes, ayy. I know the game like I'm Woj, yeah. I'm in the back with the pros, yeah. Shorty got class in the shows, yeah. I know the game how it goes, yeah. I know the game like I'm Woj.
So in full context, it sounds a lot louder, a lot fuller, a lot more present. Definitely getting a clean, loud sound is how I would describe it. When I have it in Unity, the difference is a lot more subtle, but I am definitely just noticing a difference in terms of the frequency response and the presence of the vocal, even at that Unity gain level. So now let's do what we came here for, which is, can this plugin replace the entire mastering chain? I'm going to shoot them both out right now, and then we can obviously decide together. So let's do that.
I'm in the back with the pros, ayy. Shorty got class in the shows, ayy. I know the game how it goes, ayy. I know the game like I'm Woj. I'm in the back with the pros, ayy. Shorty got class in the shows, ayy. I know the game how it goes, ayy. I know the game like I'm Woj. I'm in the back with the pros, ayy. Shorty got class in the shows, ayy. I know the game how it goes, ayy. I know the game like I'm Woj. I'm in the back with the pros, ayy. Shorty got class in the shows, ayy. I know the game how it goes, ayy. I know the game like I'm Woj.
You can hear how the master plan really sounds a lot better, a lot cleaner, clearer, punchy, full, everything that you would want from a master, but with a lot less steps, a lot less moving parts, a lot less processes. I'm not using 10 plugins anymore. I'm using one single plugin that has everything I could possibly need in this interface. And the reality is, it doesn't necessarily need to be so extreme. You don't necessarily need to just use master plan or just use 10 plugins. You could really do a hybrid of both. Perhaps I don't use my my clippers and my limiters and my maximizers and my original mastering chain, and instead replace those processes with just one instance of the master plan after some EQ and compression, just dialing up the loud because I really do like the clipper limiter circuit that this thing has built in. It sounds really awesome, really clean, and I'm really curious to just continue experimenting with it, both on its own and in a hybrid situation, as I just mentioned. Now, if you haven't checked out Master Plan, hit up Musik Hack's website. I definitely recommend you try a demo. They have a few different options in terms of purchasing, whether you want to rent to own, you want to get an annual license, or just buy it outright. And obviously, if you're here, you want to learn more about mastering. So if you want to see some more mastering videos, hit the card you see on screen right now to watch some of my best mastering tutorials. You'll definitely learn a lot in that process. I appreciate you guys for watching. Don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe if you're new. I'll see you next time. Peace.
5